Welcome back to the Wednesday Night Wrestling Remix. Today is Josiah's birthday.
Hey!
That's awesome. And we're also celebrating, well, the demise of World Championship Wrestling and the rise of the Invasion. So in my world, we are not waiting. We're not taking time. We're not trying to see, will Spike TV, the national network, pick up WCW. Oh, can we get it on FX or Fox? No. There's none of the mulling it over, trying to figure it out. No. What we do is we say to ourselves, if we're Vince McMahon, we say, I'm the greatest. So I'm going to just put all this stuff that I own on the same show.
That makes money.
And that show that we're starting with is not WrestleMania, because as we said at the climax of the last episode, the only thing that I'm changing at WrestleMania 17 is which McMahon helped Steve Austin turn heel in his home state of Texas, that being Shane O'Mac. So, yes, exactly. Still wish he had Here Comes the Money earlier than he does in real
when
time.
did he get that? Was that 05?
I don't know, but it was not nearly soon enough.
No, definitely not.
Like, them both coming out to, no chance.
No chance.
It's just like,
Does not
come
work.
on, man.
No.
But like I said, we're not rebooking WrestleMania other than that finish. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin at Monday Night Raw. Josiah, what happened at the real Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 17?
Well, in reality, we started off the show after a hot WrestleMania with Test and the APA.
I mean, Test is definitely going to put some butts in the seats.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. To be fair, and I will give Test his props. He was good. He had his moments. God rest his soul.
Oh, for sure.
It's just
my favorite version of him was the. I made the argument to Ahmed recently that I thought Test's character in the rebooted ECW was WWE's version of Matt Cardona in GCW, which is like I'm what wrestlers should be and you're not.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I loved that version.
Works.
He looked the part. Now, granted, they never strapped him up, but I liked that version of Test.
I was about to say. But even then, GCW did strap up Matt Cardona.
Oh, yeah.
Best choice. But even if they didn't strap him up, he had the hardcore match with Gage. So, and he was only champion for a month, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't long at all.
Yeah, it wasn't long. But
But the character worked, is the point.
Yeah, the character is still working.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Yeah, so, even if they didn't strap him up, it just made it better that it did. But
absolutely.
The character works really well.
So who did Test and the APA take on?
The Rascals. Or, sorry, Radicals.
The Radicals, yeah. The Rascals from Impact Wrestling, yes.
Rascals. Those little so-and-sos.
I love it.
Yeah. Every time I look at this, because it has the stupid Z at the end, which makes it.
I understand. Well, you gotta keep in mind, everybody had the Z at the end here at this time.
That's
the
so
Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, the Radicals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody had it. It was just.
I'm sure Vince would have figured out a way to give Edge and Christian a Z too if he could have made it work.
Neither one of them ended with an S. He would have had to rename Jay Russo to Christians.
Christians. Oh my God, poor Christian. I already didn't like him, so I mean, you might as well ruin the name too.
I know. Here he could have gone with Christian Cages.
Oh my God. Oh, that would have been so bad. Oh man. God bless Christian. What a great guy. So it was Malenko, Eddie, and Saturn, so no Benoit in this one. And they came out with Terry. I don't remember them with Terry, but I guess they came out with Terry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so her and Saturn were an on-air item, and he was being unfaithful to her with Moppy.
Oh, so that's where this whole mop. Okay, all right, I'm back.
He's very, I don't know, into that mop.
I think it's the water, man. It's just the smell really does it for me. Oh boy, I'm not gonna lie. Of all the interesting gimmicks you can be saddled with, that's definitely at the apex. Next up, you had Stephanie McMahon versus Trish Stratus, which ended in a no contest. This was a whipping match.
Ooh, buddy.
Yeah, I unfortunately remember this, but I still forgot that it was a no contest. But that's probably because it only went 5 minutes, so I didn't care. Speaking of short matches, Rhino defeated Crash Holly, who came up with Molly Holly. Gotta love Molly Holly. So, quick minute match there. Kane defeated Val Venus. He came out with Steven Richards to retain the Hardcore Championship. Angle and William Regal defeated Jericho in a 2-on-1 handicap match because reasons. And Pac defeated defeated Billy Gunn. And then finally, the main event of the night, newly crowned champion Stone Cold Steve Austin with his newfound ally, Mr. McMahon.
Which makes no sense.
Which still to this day makes no sense. Versus The Rock, ended in a no contest. I just realized there was 2 no contests in one show.
So, the funny thing is, I thought we were going to get away from this.
You would
when
think.
WCW was closed down and Vince Russo was no longer being a part of this show. But it turns out that Vince Russo isn't the only Vince that makes bad decisions.
What? That's crazy.
So yeah, when I was looking over this, I noticed that crap too. But do you remember what caused the no contest in the cage?
Oh, please tell me.
The emergence of Hunter Hearst Helmsley and his his sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer.
Well, his sledgehammer to get into a steel cage is what I'm trying to say. So the fans popped hard for the emergence of Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah.
They were excited. They said, hey, if Steve's a bad guy, that must mean Hunter's a good guy, because
You would think that.
So they just had a 3 Stages of Hell match at No Way Out. Yeah, great match, absolutely. On route to this WrestleMania.
Right.
Triple H was the catalyst to get Steve hit by a car at Survivor Series, not the year prior, but the year prior. Something recent, something like that. Maybe. Well, Survivor Series in November and Austin. Yeah, it had to be 2 years back because Austin. The whole thing was to write him off to get good.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So the reason it's no contest is because here comes Hunter Hearst Helmsley. But the bad news is he is not a good guy. He's not here to save the day from Dastardly Steve. They joined forces to become the 2-man power trip. Guess what I'm not doing?
Yeah.
And so G said this in a text to me the other day. He's like, tell me all about the Ozverse. I was like, well, I wasn't calling it that, but I ain't gonna argue with it.
I mean, it's a better name than what we got left. So yeah, please tell me what Ozverse is.
So in my world, Austin, as I said, gets help from Shane McMahon at the climax of WrestleMania, which also makes additional sense because Shane defeated Vince in a grueling match with chairs and trash cans. It's the same WrestleMania. Okay. So I'm just further illustrating why it makes more sense for Shane to have come out in the main event instead of Vince. Yep. So because Vince was destroyed, there were trash cans, there were chairs, there was kicks to the nether regions, all that stuff.
The grapefruits.
Yeah, the grapefruits, exactly. And so all of these things lead, in my mind, to it making more sense for Shane to be the one to come out in the main event because he was in a better condition than Vince himself. And so, as I say here, Austin aligns with Shane because Vince is a no-good SOB.
What? I'm shocked.
Austin isn't a WCW or Shane suck-up. It's just that Austin and Shane are both against the evil dictator of Vince McMahon. And so, The Rock, who is wronged, or was wronged, at WrestleMania, uses the ally of Linda McMahon to get himself a rematch in the main event of Monday Night Raw because she's now out of her comatose state. And so in that main event,
so much charisma from Linda standing up.
Well, so she doesn't even have to say anything. The Rock can just say that Linda
hooked me up.
Linda hooked me up, exactly.
Yeah.
Because obviously The Rock can carry the charisma for vacuum that is Linda McMahon. And so my point.
Does he need to?
Oh yeah, exactly. So my point is, The Rock gets his steel cage main event to keep Shane out.
Right.
But in the main event, it is revealed that Austin isn't just aligned with Shane, because in the main event, when The Rock goes to win, he gets assaulted by 2 men, Lance Storm and Mike Awesome. These two
both of those guys.
Oh God, me too. And more importantly, somebody else likes these guys. That man being Paul E. Dangerously. So I'm jumping ahead in the timeline to the following week on Raw. I'm not going to book the whole show. I'm just going to explain why Lance Storm, Mike Awesome, what the common denominator is for Lance Storm, Mike Awesome, Steve Austin, and Shane McMahon. And that is on 4/16 of 2001, Steve Austin comes to the ring with Shane, and they subsequently introduce Lance Storm and Mike Awesome, who come down, and it is then revealed unto the world that it is the mastermind of Paulie Dangerously, Paul Heyman, who has brought all of these pieces together. Shane says, yes, I bought WCW, but one of the biggest and best parts of WCW in its history was a very underrated group called the Dangerous Alliance. And that alliance was both founded and led by Paul Heyman. And so he is helping me to destroy my father, Vince McMahon, because, we have that thing in common.
Common denominator.
Exactly. So, after it has all been laid out for, or not for, but to the crowd as to what went down,
right?
That's when we have the emergence of Triple H. Hunter Hearst Helmsley comes down and says to Shane that he never respected his father. Something that Triple H does. He was in World Championship Wrestling, but only for 12 months. Just 12 months.
Is it that long?
It was only 12 months. Yeah. So he was offered.
He was terrorizing.
Well, not just that though. He was terrorizing for a very short time. He was also Jean-Paul Levesque.
That's right.
For the additional part of the time. But the point of the story is, yes, I was there. I was with this thing, but you know where I wanted to be, which is right here in the World Wrestling Federation, because it was and still is the pinnacle of professional wrestling. And so, Triple H calling out Shane on his shortcomings leads to the fact that Shane throws in his face, not only do I own World Championship Wrestling, but I'm still a quarter owner of this company. And if you want to get your hands on Steve Austin and the World Heavyweight Championship, you're going to have to go through my newest acquisition. Well, is the big, because of course Big Show's
the Giant, of course.
Yeah. Well, not just the Giant, but it's kind of Big Show's gimmick to switch sides.
Yeah.
And so
That's actually the best part about it.
it's kind of funny, yeah. And so so on the 16th, Triple H defeats Paul White, the Big Show, the Giant, to get his shot, leading into the following week, 4/23 of 2001. Which is the go-home show to Backlash. We have a bunch of chaos. Hunter wants Austin. Austin wants Hunter. The rivalry that, has been heated for far over a year.
Right.
So WCW is holding back Austin. WWF is holding back Triple H. The fans are excited. So, yes, the invasion has begun. We have had defections, 2 as a matter of fact. We've had debuts, 2 as a matter of fact. But we're not overly saturating it. We're not saying these guys are less than, these guys are more than. We're slow building it. We're getting our feet wet. We're establishing who's on what side, what's going on. So that is my lead up to Backlash. And speaking of Backlash, let's talk about what happened at the real Backlash on 4/29 of 2001. Good sir.
Well, they started the show out with a team I completely forgot about, X Factor.
Oh man, dude, I was a fan of the concept of X Factor. I wasn't a fan of the execution of X Factor, but I loved the idea that Sean Waltman was stepping out of the shadows of
DX.
Well, not just DX, but the NWO as well.
Oh,
so
yeah,
in 2 prior factions, he was an underling, but at this point in time, he says, no, I'm the top guy. I'm leading this group. And I also liked his 2 bald boys. Like, I thought Justin Credible and Albert were both 2 good underlings. They both bring something different to the group.
Fair.
And then they did nothing with it.
Yeah,
and part of it was the invasion was an issue because everything got convoluted. It's like, oh, WCW, ECW, WWF. It's like, just do things that make sense. And spoiler alert, I'm going to do my best to do things that make sense.
Well, that helps. Speaking of the invasion, they beat the Dudley Boys. I think we're contracted with WWF.
Oh, so they haven't changed sides yet.
So they're still ECW right now.
No. So they haven't started the invasion yet. So in Vince's mind, we're going to get WCW picked up, right? So you'll notice when we get to next week's episode, where the actual invasion pay-per-view happens, I don't run the Invasion pay-per-view because I've already been running the Invasion for like 3 months now when they do the Invasion pay-per-view. Because Vince is dragging his feet. He's like, oh, I can convince everybody to do what I want. Vince is in my name. I mean, Vince is my name, and Vince is in that word.
Yeah.
So I can make him do what I want. But he couldn't, so then that's when they gave up.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't even run the Invasion pay-per-view. It wouldn't make any sense. I'm already 3 or 4 months deep into it. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the Dudleys were full-fledged WWF guys.
Got it.
And they never joined the adversaries in my world because, to me, there is no WCW ECW alliance because we know from the power of hindsight that ECW gets a revival, and because of that, I do not revive ECW within the WCW Invasion due to the fact that I know they're going to get their own actual revival and done better in my mind.
There you go. Also, to be fair, the Dudley Boys have been everywhere.
Oh, for sure.
So it doesn't really matter where they go. Like, I guess ECW's what made them, so that kind of makes sense.
And that's, well, but the biggest problem with the Invasion, and I know I'm getting off course because we're supposed to be talking about the facts, but here's a true fact, even though it's not what went down at the show. The fact is, WWF messed up when they put all heels in the alliance. Just like with WCW, when you put non-WWF guys in the New World Order, you messed up the whole plan. The same goes for WWF when they say, oh, well, Christian, you've never worked in WCW, not even one friggin' dark match like your brother, Edge, did. But no, you're a bad guy, so you got to go in that group. Same with Test. Andrew Martin, was never in World Championship Wrestling, or ECW for that matter. Don't put him in the alliance.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, bad decisions all around. For those trying to keep track of the trios, number 0 is Bubba, Devon, and Spike.
Love that.
Because for those Dudley Boy aficionados,
Absolutely.
I'm sure they remember there's like 90 of them.
Yes. Well, my thing is, like, within WWF, there were 2 instances where they were all 3 together. This one, and then the later version where Spike is a dastardly heel. Like, he's so aggressive. I like that version a lot, too.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, in both cases, I thought the Dudley trio was a
solid group.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Next up, more ECW guys. You got the WWF Hardcore match. So Rhino defeats Raven in this one. Rhino is the champion.
I love Raven.
Yeah, gotta love Raven. Raven's excellent, man. Man. Speaking of other people I love.
Yes.
William Regal with the Duchess of Queensberry, which I completely forgot about this match until I read it 2 seconds ago. Defeats Chris Jericho in a Duchess of Queensberry match.
Yeah, I love when the heel makes up rules just so they can win. Yeah. It's so good. It's like, oh, I won this way. Well, that's not the rules.
The funny part is both Regal and Jericho are the only 2 people that would have been able to pull this off.
It's just so fun.
Great stuff. Speaking of great stuff, you then had an Ultimate Submission match between Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle. This went, it was 30 minutes. It was tied 3-3, goes into overtime. Kurt Angle is forced to submit, leading Chris Benoit to win the match. I'm assuming Crippler Crossface was the finish. Can't remember, but I remember this being a good match. Next up, you had a last man standing match. Shane defeats the Big Show. Not even gonna ask how that happened. WWF European title triple threat match. Matt Hardy retains, defeating Christian and Eddie Guerrero. And then finally, you have this. Strap in, everybody, because there's a lot of words. Winner takes all WWF World Title, IC Title, and World Tag Team Title match, where it's your boys.
The two-man power trip. Exactly. Versus the Brothers of Destruction.
Yep.
Yeah, so I like the visual. I really do. I like the visual.
Oh, the visual was amazing.
Of them holding all the straps, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's the disconnect with Austin working with Vince McMahon. That's the big problem with the whole damn thing. So, I
can't remember. Didn't one of them get hurt in this match too?
It's not this match. It's in the future.
Okay.
So, another reason, and I'll just jump ahead, another reason why I do not book the two-man power trip is because when Triple H tears his quad on Monday Night Raw, when Austin and Triple H are defending against Benoit and Jericho.
That's the match, okay.
Obviously, Triple H comes back as a hot babyface.
Yep.
So, in my mind, why not start the turn way earlier? And so I do it the night after Mania.
Power of hindsight.
Power of hindsight, exactly, and that's the beauty of it. I can't unbook injuries, but what I can do is book do the injury better. So I was reading my notes about Backlash, and so because I have Big Show align with Shane,
Yeah.
I don't do some things, but what I do have go on early in the show is Shane using his power at Backlash to make Triple H. He said, "You've earned your match against Steve Austin for the title," but I didn't say you couldn't that you wouldn't have another match going into the show. He's like, "You're gonna get your title match, that's for sure, but you're gonna have to wrestle the Giant, Paul White, the Big Show, in a last man standing match."
You never realize how many names the man has until he starts saying.
I mean, that's nothing compared to Ed Leslie. Ed Leslie has all the names.
Yeah, you're right. He does have all the names.
So Triple
last
H
man standing. Nice.
overcomes the Giant, Big Show,
Yeah.
in a last man standing match, but immediately has to wrestle Steve Austin because it's the bad guys doing bad guy things.
I'm about to say.
So Austin overcomes
Triple H.
obviously, because it's the heels. But what we're doing is we're proving that Triple H is the valiant babyface.
Right.
And so it was just I literally took a bunch of other notes, but none of them really matter. I was like, the first 4 matches can stay, and then blah 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 blah. None of it matters. All that matters, Triple H is the defender of World Wrestling Federation, coming up short against the dastardly Steve Austin, who is aligned with what I'm calling Paul Heyman's most dangerous alliance, that being Mike Awesome, Lance Storm, Paul himself, and Steve currently. So from there, we go to 5/5/2001 at Insurrection.
All right. So we started the night off with a match. Eddie Guerrero defeats Grandmaster Sexay, which is Brian Christopher, right? I remember that right?
Grandmaster Sexay? Yeah, Brian Christopher, you're right.
Excellent. Was this during Too Cool or after Too Cool?
Grandmaster Sexay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 100% Too Cool.
Okay, just double check it. I forget about him since no one ever really talks about him, unfortunately.
Well, and yeah, it's unfortunate because they were one of the hottest acts. They were kind of like, how hot Sami Zayn is right now. That's how hot Too Cool were when them and Rikishi, the Usos and Pops, were doing the dance. It was crazy.
I know. I still remember the little Too Cool dance. You put the sunglasses on, put the shades on, the crowd goes crazy for it. Oh man, good old days. Next up, the Radicals.
Yes,
I got it that time.
good job.
Defeat Crash Harley, Hardcore Holly. I forgot they were all Hollies.
Yes, yeah, the Holly
What were
cousins.
They were all cousins.
Yes,
right?
they were all cousins. Yes.
Okay. Crash Hardcore and Molly Holly, all lost to Radicals, which is Malenko, Saturn, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Then Bradshaw defeats the Big Show. 4-way elimination tag match. So Edge and Christian defeated the Dudley Boys, which is Bubba and Devon. Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt. And X Factor, which was Justin and X-Pac with Albert on the outside. Which, in hindsight, man, it's probably the flippiest match I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see. Next up, we got a best 2 out of 3 falls match. Benoit defeats Kurt Angle.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah, so basically Benoit and Angle just wrestling each other.
Yeah, that's you're gonna run into that a lot.
Yeah.
And that's
Which,
actually I'm
smart.
I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna keep doing this, but
yeah.
Kurt Angle recently said that if you erase Chris Benoit from the history, you erase most of his greatest matches.
Yeah.
And as much as
Because I'm reading these in like the Ultimate Submission, 2 out of 3 falls. I'm like,
and as much as I understand where the decision came from,
yes,
it's also just
a shame.
Because I mean, great matches.
Incredible matches. I honestly have never seen. Now, granted, when I was really into wrestling, Chris Benoit was scrubbed from existence.
Exactly.
But all the matches of his I have seen, like the first Benoit match I ever saw was that Triple Threat at Mania.
Okay, well that's a good place to be.
Yeah, so that was the first match I ever saw, and then I saw his matches with Eddie. I saw these matches with Kurt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've seen the Ultimate Submission, but I've definitely seen 2 out of 3 falls.
Sure.
Which
I strongly you have the Rise and Fall of ECW, right?
Yeah.
I'd strongly recommend, if you haven't, watching him and Malenko go at it, because even back when Eddie wasn't Latino Heat or not Eddie. I was mistaken. That's the match I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Is Eddie and Dean.
Yeah.
But the point still stands. Chris, Dean, Eddie,
Eddie.
have had great
Right.
matches all over the place. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. That's gonna be a constant joke. But yeah, they've had great matches all over the place.
Yeah,
So
I believe it. Didn't they wrestle at New Japan? Wasn't it
absolutely.
Eddie
So
Pegasus Kid, or was
Yeah.
that Benoit?
Benoit was Pegasus Kid after the Dynamite Kid, the wrestler he most looked up to, and
Right.
Eddie was Tiger Mask
2, 3.
question mark number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was Tiger Mask Black because I thought he was the heel one.
He probably was.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah.
that fits.
Yeah.
That fits.
Those matches are good too. Watch
Yes.
this. Ah, man. All right. Enough of the side tangent because we got the Queen's Cup match. And then this one, Jericho defeats Rick.
I love those guys.
Oh, my God.
Well, it's amazing that they're still working together to this day
Isn't it nice?
in AEW. I mean, they've friends for freaking ever.
And you could tell, too, because, was it like a few Rampages ago, Regal came out to watch somebody in BCC's match.
Of course.
And just him and Jericho just on commentary together was the funniest thing in the world. Oh, man. Great stuff. It's nice to see people be friends in wrestling.
Yes.
And then we're closing the night out. WWF World Heavyweight Title 2-on-1 handicap match. Yes, it's still a mouthful. The Undertaker defeats Steve Austin and Triple H.
But the title doesn't change hands because he has to pin Steve to win the
Austin
belt,
to win the match,
and he
yeah.
beats Triple H like a dummy. I put that in the notes, right?
Yep, that was literally the next thing I was about to read. So
Yeah.
thanks for saving me the time.
Ah, it was just so
Which
infuriating.
doesn't make
to do that.
any. Why would you?
The
He
Undertaker
knows
is
that.
stupid, is what they're telling us.
Was that something they told him beforehand? Maybe it was like that was great that you won the match, but you pinned the wrong man.
You're probably right. In defense of The Undertaker, it probably was a last minute change because Insurrection is like every UK pay-per-view
In that time.
in that time period, which it did not matter. It was non-canon. And on the subject of it being non-canon, it really is going to be what I lean into when I book it. So the thing that the storyline I'm driving at this UK exclusive pay-per-view is that Vince McMahon is para-freaking-noid. He is
What? Vince?
So, one thing I forgot to mention at Backlash is X-Pac walks out on Just Incredible and Albert. As much as I wanted it to work, I understand that it didn't, and so what I'm doing is I'm having Sean Waltman walk out on his own crew and join up with Paul White, the Big Show,
Okay, got it.
because they are two NWOites. And so, because Waltman turned at Backlash,
Actually,
yes.
isn't Paul not NWO in your universe? Because
Oh,
WWF.
you're right. But I'm just saying, in real life,
In
they
real
were
life,
both
okay.
they were both NWOites, and in this world, they're both former WCW competitors.
Got it.
So I just did that for the
Just
sake
clearing
of,
that up for the
Yes,
people that
I
remember.
appreciate your sticking to non-reality.
Yep.
Because in non-reality, Paul White never joined the NWO. But in this continued non-reality, they both
CW guys.
ex-WCW guys. Exactly.
All right.
So Vince is extra paranoid at the show. And so what he does is he really has it out for anybody who has even the slightest of ties to WCW. So the opening match
Sounds like Vince.
is Eddie Guerrero versus Grandmaster Sexay.
Yep.
And Vince is like, Eddie Guerrero wins? That guy, he was with the LWO. Oh, he's freaking out. Like, so, you remember how I cut out all of the Vince on Nitro crap except until I did the beginning and the end, right?
Yeah.
Not all the cutaways?
Yep.
Imagine here we have all of his cutaways in his office except he's
Oh,
losing
yeah,
his
exact
crap.
same concept.
So,
He just loses.
so the Hollies versus the Radicals, Vince is losing again because Perry Saturn, WCW,
Yep.
also ECW, but you
Yeah,
know,
it's
Dean Lee,
small things.
WCW, ECW, you know, same. So
Terry, was she a Nitro girl? I want to say she
no. So Terry worked for WCW with the York Foundation back in the early '90s. She had a great gimmick where she'd come out with a laptop, a really fat old laptop,
I know.
where she'd type in. I loved it. She was basically Paul Lebo with a computer.
Okay.
I loved her gimmick.
I might have to look that up because I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, so good. So, if you go back and you watch my Halloween Havoc 1991 retro review, I brag on her every time she shows up because I'm like, why have they not brought this back? Because like her crew were the Tailor-Made Man, Terrence Taylor, and her crew was like the computerized men of the future, and because she would always, she would analyze the best things.
Yeah,
to make
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
I loved her gimmick. But okay, so
Okay.
we then have Bradshaw versus Paul White. Again, Paul White is he turns.
XW.
Yeah, he joined WCW,
WCW,
and so he goes over. Everybody from WCW is going over, and he's losing his freaking mind. So the first time that we have WWF wrestlers win in their match it's all WWF guys. So I have Edge and Christian versus the Dudleys versus the Hardys versus what I'm calling the Factor. The Factor is X Factor.
Because they dropped the X.
They dropped the X, exactly.
Got it.
So X Factor wins, but the like again, the funny thing is it was all WWF guys, so there's nothing for Vince to lose his crap about. So we still do Angle and Benoit. That stays the same. That's great.
Cool.
So I actually changed the Jericho Regal match to Regal going over.
Oh, okay, cool.
But the funny thing about it is they're both ex-WCW guys. But the reason I booked Regal is because Jericho is the biggest person that Vince. I don't even know why. Well, I do know why, but like conclusion-wise, I know why I do it. But like, there's no specific reason why Vince is always needling Jericho, but he just is the most questioning of him. And so,
because he's short.
said damn long hair. He's like, oh, I'm so jealous. And so, I change the main event to be Austin versus Triple H versus The Undertaker, not a handicap match.
Just
triple threat. Because Vince is trying to pull his to demonstrate his stroke and or power. Shane has a quarter, but Vince hasn't a quarter of his own, so he puts two guys representing WWF versus Austin, and Austin retains because that just makes sense.
I'm about to say, storytelling.
Exactly. Yeah, he ain't gonna take the title off of Austin in a non-canon show.
Not an insurrection.
So we will finish up this episode at Judgment Day.
And no, we're not talking about Finn Balor's group.
Yes, that's true. But I do like that it's literally Edge being on the poster of Judgment Day, which got in the name of the crew. That's so funny.
It's clever. I gotta give him the props for that one. Alright, so on this show, we had a 3 Stages of Hell match. Kurt Angle defeats Chris Benoit. The matches were bog standard singles match, because, of course, that went a minute for some reason. Benoit won that fall. The second fall was a submission match. Kurt Angle defeat Triss in that one. That went about 13 minutes, which makes a lot more sense.
For sure.
And then lastly, a ladder match, which do you know what was hanging above the ring? Because I know there was no title involved.
I don't remember. That's a good question.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I don't think it was it couldn't have been a briefcase. That's too early in the timeline.
Yeah.
A clipboard feels weird. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't no brass ring. It wasn't.
I'll tell you what. Go ahead and insert the picture when you're editing this later.
Yeah, that's a smart call.
All right. And then, it ends in a ladder match. Kurt Angle obviously wins. It's a good 24-minute match. I always enjoyed 3 Stages of Hell's matches. I kind of wish they did them more. They're fun. They're fun little matches. Let's see. Next up, Rhino retains his Hardcore Championship in a triple threat match, defeating Test and our boy, The Big Show, who's probably baby heel face, something like that. I don't know what he was this time.
China, like baby heel face.
Yep. China retains their women's championship because China beats everybody, man. Let's be honest. She defeated Lita in that match. Next up, Kane defeated Triple H in a chain match, which I really don't remember, to become the Intercontinental Champion. So good for Kane. Woo, Kane. Let's see. And then we have a WWF World Tag Team title, number 1 contendership, tag team tournament. Jesus Christ, can't they make these names shorter?
Nope.
My God. And okay, I see why Benoit lost earlier. Him and Jericho defeated Edge and Christian, the APA, the Dudley Boys, and the Hardy Boys, and the Radicals, and the X Factor. And I don't think I missed a team. There were a lot of teams. Benoit and Jericho won. That's the important part. And then lastly, you have the WWF World Title No Holds Barred match. Steve Austin defeated Undertaker. I think we're done. Yeah. Okay, go for it. Yeah, that was a mouthful.
Yes.
That was a lot. That was a lot of stuff.
So, my Judgment Day, it begins in a weird place, but it gets weirder. So
Okay, that sounds good.
So, Vince McMahon is hyping up, or has hyped for weeks. He's hyped up Rikishi. He's mad at William Regal. So Vince is mad at William Regal,
For
who
existing.
is the commissioner of World Wrestling Federation. He's mad at him because Shane has convinced him to come to the dark side, and there's a clause in his commissionership contract that says he can't be stripped of the
Title? His
the
title
the
of
authority.
commissionership.
Yes. And so Vince, who's infuriated, he's beside himself. He was because Vince put the clause in Regal's contract to make sure that Linda couldn't take the power from Regal when Regal was helping him,
And now it's backfired.
and now it's backfired on him. So Vince has gone to Rikishi. He says, "Big Quiche," he says, "Big Quiche, I need you to humiliate that nasty Brit." He's like, "I need you to stick your big posterior in his face." So Vince is so mad at William Regal, and Shane for that matter,
Right.
that he starts Judgment Day with this match. But here's the big problem. Vince can't keep his dang mouth shut. He keeps
What?
getting on the apron and just getting in Rikishi. He's like, yeah, gotta put that posterior in his face, right? So at one point, Rikishi is going to try and kick William Regal. Regal ducks and he kicks Vince McMahon. Vince falls off of the apron and hits his head. Medical staff come and they cart off Vince.
Ooh,
He's gone.
big stretcher job. Wow.
So at the beginning of the show, so Regal takes advantage of Rikishi being distracted.
Old brass knuck situation.
Exactly, and wins the match. But more importantly than that, Regal and Shane both have authority, and they use that authority to inject the judgment, the
Judgment Day.
to inject the show Judgment Day with a large amount of World Championship Wrestling talent. So much so that Shane and Regal, who are still out at ringside because Vince is gone and they're just happy as can be.
Shucking and jiving.
Shane's doing his dance. He says,
His little-
he says, we're gonna make this show exciting. He's like, I want the ninth wonder of the world to come out here, and so China, she fans are behind her. Shane says, tonight, China, you're defending your title in a 2-on-1 handicap match. That WWF Women's title is being defended against both Stacy Keibler, she has legs for days, and Tori Wilson. And so the match happens.
Miss Hancock and Tori Wilson.
Good old him, yeah, exactly. So the match happens. China handily beats both of them, easy, nothing to it.
China.
Yeah, so
Good stuff.
so Shane's mad. He's like, oh, I can't believe that WWF they got over on us, right?
They got us on this one.
And so Shane, he says in the back, he says to
In Vince's office.
in Vince's office, of course, him and Regal, they said, you know what I really want to watch? I want to watch the WWF's greatest tag teams. I want to watch them go at it. He says, Mr. Regal, go tell them to go out to the ring. And so Regal goes and he goes out of the office and gets the tag teams to go out. So we have a tag team turmoil match. It's the APA, the Dudley Boys. It is Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, Justin Credible and Albert. It's Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko, who have not yet turned on the WWF.
Got it.
And then they, the last and final team are Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit. So the Hardy Boys are defending their titles against all these teams, one by one. The Hardys retain at the finish of the match. But that's when, let's just, for my own peace of mind, here comes the money, plays.
Money.
Shane comes out and he says, oh, I forgot to tell you, there's one more team.
My bad.
My bad. Yeah, that's on me.
That's on me.
The final team that the Hardy Boys have to take on are Chris Kanyon and Diamond Dallas Page.
Ooh.
And so the match ends with a Diamond Cutter,
Who better?
and Chris Kanyon and Diamond Dallas Page win the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team titles
Good
at
for them.
Judgment Day.
All right.
So,
All right, yeah, because DDP signed already. Yeah.
well, yeah, exactly. And I do not
Make him a stalker.
I do not endorse this stalker gimmick. I don't endorse this freaking.
I would hope not. I hope you wouldn't endorse that.
I hated it.
It was it's bad.
I hated it so much. So, because the night is so WCW heavy, Chris Jericho goes up to Shane and William Regal and says, I know your dad thinks that I have some love or admiration for WCW, but I don't. He's like,
I don't care about it.
I was not a top guy. I was never getting anywhere. He's like, I don't want to join your team. And Chris says, oh, well, you don't have to join our team. He's like, that's okay. He's like, but because you don't want to be with us, I'm going to have you take on Mark Jindrak and Billy Kidman.
Jeez.
He said, but it's okay. You don't have to have the match. All you got to do is join join our side, right? And Chris
Be
is like,
on our team.
be on our team. You don't have to have a match. And Chris is like, I'll do the match. He's like, I'll do the match.
Because I'm that damn good.
So Chris Jericho goes out and he wrestles Mark Jindrak, who is an incredible talent.
Yep.
And he wrestles Billy Kidman, also an incredible talent.
Indeed.
He's unable to overcome the odds, and Jindrak overpowers Chris, and Kidman hits a shooting star press 1-2-3. Chris Jericho loses that handicap match.
Just like the old cruiserweight days.
And so we're, I know, right? So hardcore title match now. Rhino, WWF champion, hardcore champion, defending against. Exactly.
Core.
The crowd is behind him. Defends against both X-Pac and the Big Show because Shane is all about stacking the odds in his favor.
Makes sense.
Big Show wins the match, bringing the hardcore title again to WCW. If you haven't caught on to what I'm doing.
Following.
And so we have, once again, you don't need to do this match. All you got to do is join us. Gift to...
Similar theme of the night.
Yes. Shane McMahon's a very giving
Very
booker.
giving.
He's a giving booker. He took notes from The Godfather. He said, take my gift and you don't need to do this match. So Shane McMahon tells Chris Benoit, all you've got to do is join us and you don't have to wrestle Kurt Angle and Kane. Also, his second match of the night, just like Chris Jericho's. Benoit turns him down, and he wrestles Kurt Angle and Kane. Kurt Angle goes over. Chris Jericho doesn't join, or Chris Benoit doesn't join, just like
I'm
Chris
following
Jericho
the
did.
pattern now. Shane wants to recruit everyone named Chris.
Exactly. You caught me.
Ah.
So in the main event of Judgment Day,
Right.
unlike Vince McMahon at Insurrection, because Shane is a noble McMahon. He says to Steve, he says, my dad made you defend at that UK show against both Triple H and The Undertaker.
Unfair.
He's like, that was unfair. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a partner in the main event tonight in Judgment Day. Your partner will be the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Booker T.
He's 4-time champion right now. Right?
Yeah, he's currently in his fourth reign.
Fourth reign.
So, and so Steve says, oh, thanks. I'm going to crack Steve Weiser for you, whatever.
Yeah.
And so
More
here's,
wine drinker.
so here's the biggest defection probably of the it's the biggest defection so far.
Okay.
In the main event of Judgment Day, The Undertaker joins the Most Dangerous Alliance because Paul Heyman believed in Big Red. Paul Heyman believed in Main Mark. Paul Heyman believed in The Undertaker. And so,
I didn't forget about that.
at the conclusion of Judgment Day, The Undertaker is now with the Most Dangerous Alliance. And so, that leads us to the next night. And in the main event of Monday Night Raw, which is no longer Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit versus Triple H and Steve Austin, because honestly, Triple H is on the same side as Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit.
At this time,
In my storyline.
Right.
We in my world, on this Raw, we book, it's a trios match. It is Triple H, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit versus Steve Austin versus The Undertaker and versus Lance Storm. Because as much as I like the idea of Booker T being in this match, he plays a different role. He's not a part of the Most Dangerous Alliance. He is the linchpin piece of what I'm calling NFTs. Nitro's Finest Talents. So, Nitro's Finest Talents are Kanyon and Diamond Dallas Page, the current World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions, and Booker T, who is the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. The additional members will be Billy Kidman and Mark Jindrak,
Gotcha.
whom wrestled Chris Jericho the night prior.
Makes sense.
And so Nitro's Finest Team is a way to utilize intellectual property. So the merchandise will be the last Nitro logo, and then the words Finest Team or Talent at the below that.
Right.
Nitro's Finest Talent below that.
So you can make some money.
And I'm going to do a similar thing with Thunder. It'll be TYT. It'll be called Thrilling Young Thunder. So Thrilling Young will be at the top. The Thunder logo will be there. And that team will be comprised of basically the Natural Born Thrillers plus Gregory Helms, led by, and this is something I love, Thrilling Young Thunder is led by Commissioner William Regal.
Ah.
So it's William Regal leading Gregory Helms,
Yep.
Sean O'Hare, Chuck Palumbo, hold on a second, Johnny the Bull Stamboli, that's it.
There you go.
And again, because those are all young, thrilling talent.
Young studs.
Yes, young studs, yeah. Thrilling Young Thunder. So here's the way it breaks down. There's no WCW, ECW alliance. It's just cohesive groups that make good common sense together. There's the Most Dangerous Alliance of Mike Awesome, Lance Storm, Steve Austin, and The Undertaker. There's Nitro's Finest Team. There's Thrilling Young Thunder. There's a new pseudo New World Order with X-Pac, Big Show. I will also add Chronic to it as a floating type thing along with Stacy Keibler. And then eventually, now I'm jumping ahead, but eventually we'll also have what I'm calling True Radicals as a part of this, not alliance, but this contingent of
That's a good word for it.
WCW or ex-WCW talent. But that's me jumping ahead. Let me go back to the main event. So the main event is now a trios match. It's Lance Storm, it's The Undertaker, and it's Steve Austin. They're taking on Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and Triple H. Triple H blows out his quad.
Okay.
Just like he does in real life because he can't unbook injuries.
Yep.
But for the past, what? So we're in 5 in the beginning. So for the past month and change.
Has this been a month? Seriously?
So yeah, so from 4-2 until 5-21, Triple H has been a good guy. And he's been the top good guy.
Yeah.
But he goes out on this night with a torn quad, and he's not seen again until later in the story.
Okay.
But he plays such a pivotal role when he comes back. Oh, I'm so excited for this. Like, I love being so happy. Now, I should be excited. I booked this stuff. But,
I was about to say, I hope you're excited for your own booking.
but like, so at the end of this Raw, this is how the sides pan out. Steve Austin holds the Big Eagle title, but he's on the WCW side. Booker T holds the big gold belt, also on WCW side. Holding the WWF tag titles, Diamond Dallas Page, Chris Kanyon. The WCW tag champions are...
Palumbo and O'Hare.
It says Palumbo and O'Hare, but I swear I gave them to somebody else in the last Nitro. Crap, who do I have one that's on the last Nitro? We'll just say Palumbo and O'Hare won them on some show that Shane was booking.
There you go.
So Big Show's Hardcore Champion, Lance Storm is U.S. Champion, Billy Kidman's Cruiserweight, and X-Pac is Light Heavyweight Champion. So the only titles that the WWF holds is the European title with Eddie Guerrero, Women's title with Chyna, and the Intercontinental Championship with Chris Jericho.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, so I also have Gregory Helms and Chavo Guerrero holding the WCW Cruiserweight tag titles because they are the
They're still around.
Yeah, they're still around. It's just exciting. It's a way to, I don't know, make WCW seem valuable. Not like a worthless piece of crap that you wish you hadn't bought, Vince. But while we're talking about things that are valuable, let's talk about my 68-page graphic novel, Everlasting Survivors, Volume 1, all day long. There are limited first printings still available at Etsy.com, and by limited I mean, as of last counting, there were less than 35 copies in totality. I think there were 16 of this one, 17 of that one, I don't know, something like that.
Breakdown's close.
Very, very little. So, my point is that if you are watching this video and you don't have your copy, you need to pick it up because they are not going to be around much, much longer. So, Josiah, that was super freaking fun. What'd you think? Did you like it?
Oh, yeah.
I feel good? I feel good.
Oh, man.
So, there are only 3 more episodes of the Wednesday Night Wrestling Remix. So
Damn,
this
really
is The Invasion Begins. But on the next episode, it is The Invasion Hostile Takeover.
What a great name.
I love all of these subtitles.
Honestly, I feel like he has more of a ball with the subtitles than he does the booking in some cases.
Well, I mean, some of the bookings have been hard, man.
Yeah.
Some of them have been rough.
Well, it's tough to make sense of everything. You know, it gets.
Okay. I'm gonna wrap this up because I can't keep giving it away, but we'll talk off air.
Yeah.